For more than 3,000 years, one civilization stood along the banks of the Nile River and became one of the most powerful and influential societies the world has ever known. Ancient Egypt was a land of magnificent temples, mysterious pyramids, advanced science, and legendary rulers known as the pharaohs. The pharaohs were more than kings. To the people of Egypt, they were living representatives of the gods, responsible for maintaining order between humanity and the divine world. Some pharaohs built monuments that still amaze us today. Others expanded Egypt into a vast empire. Some became symbols of greatness, while others led the civilization into decline. But how did Egypt rise from a collection of small settlements along the Nile into one of history's greatest civilizations? And how did the mighty kingdom of the pharaohs eventually fall? This is the story of the rise and fall of ancient Egypt's legendary rulers. Thousands of years ago, the region we now call Egypt was not a unified nation. Instead, it was divided into two kingdoms. To the south was Upper Egypt, and to the north was Lower Egypt, located near the Nile Delta. The Nile River was the foundation of Egyptian civilization. Each year, the river flooded its banks, leaving behind rich soil that allowed farmers to grow crops. While much of the surrounding region was desert, the Nile created a narrow strip of fertile land where communities could survive and eventually flourish. Around 3100 BC, a powerful ruler traditionally known as Narmer united Upper and Lower Egypt. This moment marked the beginning of the first Egyptian dynasty and the start of the long era of pharaohs. The pharaoh was considered both a political leader and a religious figure. Egyptians believed the pharaoh maintained balance, known as Ma'at, which represented truth, justice, and harmony. A successful pharaoh brought prosperity. A weak one risked chaos. One of Egypt's greatest achievements came during the Old Kingdom, often called the Age of the Pyramids. During this period, pharaohs gained enormous power and resources. The most famous example is Pharaoh Khufu, who ordered the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza around 2600 BC. For nearly 4,000 years, it remained the tallest human-made structure on Earth. The pyramid was not simply a massive tomb. It represented the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife. Ancient Egyptians believed death was not the end. They believed the soul continued to exist, and proper burial rituals were essential for eternal life. Building these monuments required thousands of workers, engineers, architects, and craftsmen. Contrary to popular myths, evidence suggests many pyramid builders were skilled laborers who were supported by the state, rather than simply enslaved workers. The pyramids became symbols of royal power and Egypt's ability to organize one of the most advanced societies of the ancient world. The authority of the pharaoh came from religion. Egyptians worshipped many gods, including Ra, the sun god, Osiris, the god of the afterlife, and Isis, the goddess of motherhood and magic. The pharaoh was believed to have a special connection with these gods. Massive temples were built throughout Egypt, where priests performed rituals and ceremonies. The Egyptians also developed one of the world's earliest writing systems, hieroglyphics. These symbols recorded everything from religious beliefs to government records and royal achievements. Pharaohs used inscriptions on monuments to preserve their names and victories for eternity. For Egyptian rulers, being remembered after death was one of the greatest goals. After a period of political instability, Egypt entered a new era of strength known as the New Kingdom, beginning around 1550 BC. This became the most powerful period in Egyptian history. Egypt expanded beyond its traditional borders and became a major military power. One of the greatest warrior pharaohs was Thutmose III. Known as the Napoleon of ancient Egypt, he led numerous military campaigns and expanded Egyptian influence across the region. But perhaps the most famous Egyptian ruler was not a warrior, but a queen. Hatshepsut became one of Egypt's most successful pharaohs. She promoted trade, built magnificent monuments, and brought prosperity to the kingdom. Another legendary ruler was Akhenaten, who attempted to transform Egyptian religion by promoting the worship of one main god, Aten. However, his reforms were rejected after his death, and traditional religious practices returned. Then came one of history's most famous names, Tutankhamun. King Tut became pharaoh as a child and ruled for a short time. His historical importance comes mainly from the discovery of his nearly intact tomb in 1922, which revealed incredible treasures and provided valuable information about ancient Egyptian life. Among all Egyptian rulers, few are remembered as strongly as Ramses II. Known as Ramses the Great, he ruled for more than 60 years during the 13th century BC. He built enormous monuments, including the temples of Abu Simbel, and led military campaigns to defend Egyptian territory. His famous battle against the Hittites at Kadesh became one of the earliest recorded military conflicts in history. Although the battle itself was not a clear victory, Ramses presented it as a great triumph. He understood the power of propaganda and ensured that his achievements were carved into monuments across Egypt. Under Ramses II, Egypt reached one of its final peaks of wealth and influence. But after his death, the kingdom slowly began to weaken. The decline of Egypt did not happen overnight. Several factors contributed to the weakening of pharaoh power. Internal struggles, economic problems, and political instability reduced the authority of later rulers. At the same time, foreign powers became stronger. Egypt faced invasions from groups including the Assyrians, Persians, and others seeking control of the wealthy Nile region. Eventually, Egypt lost much of its independence. In 332 BC, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, beginning a new era of Greek influence. After Alexander's death, Egypt was ruled by the Ptolemaic dynasty. The final famous ruler of ancient Egypt was Cleopatra VII. Although Cleopatra was a powerful and intelligent leader, Egypt was caught between the growing power struggles of Rome. After her defeat against Rome, Egypt became a Roman province in 30 BC. The era of the pharaohs had officially ended. Although the pharaohs disappeared thousands of years ago, their legacy remains alive. Ancient Egyptians made remarkable contributions to architecture, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and engineering. Their pyramids continue to inspire millions of people. Their writing revealed stories of ancient life. Their temples and monuments remind us of a civilization that valued knowledge, organization, and the desire for immortality. The pharaohs ruled for thousands of years, but their greatest achievement may have been creating a civilization that continues to fascinate humanity. The story of the Egyptian pharaohs is a story of ambition, power, belief, and human achievement. From the first kings who united Egypt to the final rulers who faced the rise of Rome, the pharaohs shaped one of the greatest civilizations in history. Their kingdoms rose from the desert, reached incredible heights, and eventually fell. But their monuments, stories, and mysteries remain. Thousands of years later, the question still captures our imagination. How did a civilization that began beside a river create wonders that survived for eternity? The answer lies in the remarkable story of ancient Egypt and the legendary pharaohs who